Hi guys, what's up? I'm here in the parking lot of the playground, just introducing you to that new YouTube channel. We're Elite Poker, a coaching and staking team. So we're based basically all over the world. We've got guys in Vegas, we've got guys in Miami, guys in Cyprus, we even got guys in Cambodia right now. Our channel is gonna be about our journey to becoming basically one of the best cash game teams in the world. We offer staking and coaching to guys that ask for it. Basically, we're gonna open the recruitments in the beginning of the year, so stay tuned for that. I'm gonna make it short and I'll find you guys at the table. See ya. All right, quick gym over. I'll run that up with some cardio, head down, and go straight to the playground.
Most aggressive player, and he usually does all right against most of the ABC strat.
All right, here we are on the playground to 5. Didn't even have time to change my cash for chips, and I'm already dead pocket tens. I open to 25, and my opponent on the left, pretty good regular, decides to 3-bet me to 75. He's not the craziest, so I'm staying calm for now, and I decide to flat call. The flop comes Queen 9-4, 3 spades, and we have a spade and a backdoor straight, just in case my pair isn't already enough. I check to my opponent, and he c-bets for 50, so around 1/3. And of course I go nowhere. He could c-bet that size with all his range, so very happy to see a cheap turn. The turn is an offsuit 4 and we both check. And the river is a board pairing queen. When he checks on the turn, I feel like I always have the best hand here, but I don't see much value in betting. Problem is after checking turn, I don't see people bluff rivers a lot, so maybe a very small bet was better, but I decided to check here. He checks back and we start by dragging chips, which is always a good sign. Going the right way with jacks in early position. I raise to 20 bucks this time, and an all-man coffee calls in the hijack. Flop is Queen 10-5 and we only got second pair. I decide to check this time, as I think he will tell us his hand pretty often on that flop, and if he checks I will have 2 clear barrels of value. He bets 35 relatively quickly, and I honestly don't even think he will do that with a 10 here. So I could just fold facing that sizing, but I decided to peel one and just fold on a 6 turn versus a 75 bucks bet. I'm gonna go as fast as I can here, as I have a lot of hands to cover. I got called for a table transfer and I arrive at a way better table than the previous one. The first one was infested with regs and tight dudes, so nothing to see. Right away I open to 30 with 7s under the gun, as the guy on my right just straddled. Cut off, a pretty active guy didn't see my open and tries to open to 40, so the dealer forces him to call. But we'll definitely keep that in mind, and the straddle calls. 3-way to a good looking flop of 8-7-6 rainbow, and when the action gets to me I decide to check, as I think the guy in position will bet a lot, given that his range is stronger than it should be with his miss open. As expected, he bets 50 and the straddle calls. I want to target overpairs, pair plus draws on that flop, and 2 pairs of course, so I raise immediately to 250 as the field is pretty sticky in Montreal and can't fold even jacks here. Cutoff finally decides to jam over my raise, and I think he can have all the 2 pair combos, 9s, 6s, 10s maybe. And I discount some offsuit straight combos that he wouldn't want to open 40 in his position. So I call, but I'm very in bad shape, and he shows me 8s. We get some chop opportunities on the 4 on the turn, but nothing to see on the board pair and 6 on the river, and we lose a stack right away. It's still early, so nothing to be scared of, and I reload to get my money back. An open to 15 and a call, and I 3-bet 10s to 70 from the cutoff. Only the original raiser calls me, and we go heads up to jack 6-5 with 2 diamonds. My opponent checks, and I c-bet to 40 bucks for 1/4. He calls after some time, and the turn is a 9, on which I bet 100 to value all his pocket pairs, purples draws, diamond draws, and I have an easy check back on the river. He calls, and the river is an 8, making 4-2 straight. Well, nothing to do here, I think. I just need to check back and get to showdown. So that's what I do. And, well, we beat Ace-9 of diamonds, and I take that pot down. In that end, a reg raises to 30 over straddle in the low jack, and I peel a beautiful 7-6 of diamonds from the big blind. I decide to raise it to 140 to take it down pre-flop. Unfortunately, it calls, and we're gonna have to maneuver it post-flop, but we have a pretty good hand too. The board comes 10-9-4 with 2 spades, and I c-bet 90 to target his low pocket pairs, ace-high, that are gonna have a hard time continuing even for a small amount. He calls that bet, and I big a beautiful 8 on the turn, giving me a straight. It's a card on which my hand strength is pretty hidden. I will check a good part of my overpairs here, so I keep betting as I think it will look bluffier and suspicious, even more than if I checked and bet on the river. Plus my image is pretty fucked up, and he knows I can be too aggressive as I play in bigger games, so I'm not scared to put the money in. So I bet 250 and he calls once again. River is not as good looking as the turn, it's an offsuit 7, putting 4 to a straight on the board. He has a lot of jacks in his range and not so many hands that I can get value from, but I think a bet is better. I mean, he won't raise with anything worse than a jack in my opinion, because he's not really the bluffy kind of guy. I can get some values from 2 pairs, sets, top pairs if I bet small, so I decide to bet 100, and after a minute or so of tanking, he called max. Alright, big news guys, the 510 is finally opening. I know most of the players and it doesn't look really nice, but I'll give it a shot and see if we can get a good game going. I buy in for 2500 on it, which is the max, and I'm ready to fight. A few small hands go by, lots of 3 bets and raises, but nothing crazy happening, just this one hand against a good friend of mine, in which I make the absolute nuts with King Jack of Spades on Queen 8, 4, 9, 10. I bet small on the river and he raises me. He has a lot of single jacks here, so of course I jam with nuts, but unfortunately snap calls and we end up chopping that massive 5k plus pot. Unfortunately the table breaks as we're only 5 or 6 guys playing and mostly pros, so we decide to end it and try again later. C'est combien Nicolas?
10K. On est ensemble de toute façon.
Alexis associé?
Ouais, devant la caméra.
Winner up, $200.
Alright, quick break. It's 6:16. We've almost crossed the 6 hours mark, which means almost 25% of the way. We've tried to open 510. It lasted like an hour or so. Table was bad and we were four-handed, so it broke quickly. Back to 2-5 now. Going so far, got some ends. Got destroyed the first hour with a 700 set. But so far, climbing back up and looking forward to the night beginning. The tables should get crazy in like 2 hours or so. I'll keep you posted. Elle a l'air lourde.
Elle a l'air.
Winner up, $200.
We transform it back into a 2-5 to bring more players in, so I take out some chips and I buy in again for 1k. I keep winning and losing small pots until I find myself with kings in a small blind. Pretty good thing to see when there's a limp and an ISO to 25 in early position. I bump it up to 100 and the original raiser calls. The flop comes pretty safe, Jack 9-4 with 2 diamonds, and I still have an overpair. He has around 500 and something behind, so I decide to bet 125 to build the pot and look to jam on any safe turn. That size gets me to value all his pocket pairs, and straight draws. I'm not really interested to keep his ace size in range, as I'm not gonna win a lot of money against them anyway, so I'd rather capitalize on his pairs. The turn is a board pairing 4 and I follow my plan, putting in the rest of the money as I think it will be easy for him to call a jack and 9 or even a pocket pair here, putting me too much on a bluff like ace king. He snap calls, making me feel like he had a set the whole time, but I disabled my card as the 7 folds off on the river, and he shows me ace-jack of clubs for top pair, top kicker. We pick up his stack. Again, really important to size up on the flop here to put all the money in as soon as possible in low stakes, as people overestimate their hand strengths constantly and can call with weak hands in crazy spots. I win a small pot with aces before picking up pocket nines in the small blind against an open to 25 from the under the gun player, who is extremely active and splashy, by the way. Speaking of splashy, he doesn't waste much time before putting all his 550 bucks in. I don't hesitate and snap call. I think he can have all the smaller pocket pairs and a bunch of broadways, and he's really playing big on slots and he likes to gamble. Just to help things out, I flop a set on 9-6-4 rainbow and end up with a boat on running fives. I get that stack too, and things start really well on that table. 20 minutes or so after my break, I get dealt red kings in the cutoff. I open to 25 and get called by the big blind. The flop comes 7-6-3 with 2 hearts. The board is pretty dynamic, so I decide to c-bet 25 again, and he calls quickly. The turn is a queen of hearts completing the flush, and I put the second barrel in for 60. Looking to value any pair plus flush draw, gut shot, 7x, but he decides to fold quickly. A small bluff that didn't work with deuces, a few value bets, and here I am with queen 6 of diamonds out of the small blinds in the limp pot. I check call 20 on an above average 10-9-5 with 2 diamonds board, and I hit the unexpected out on a queen turn. I check call 28 once more, and the river is a break. I think I can lead pretty often here, small to get value from 10x and 9x that are the heart of his range, and that will almost always check back here now given the board. But small misplay here, I decided to check and it checks back as expected. I still win it, so we'll take it. Very interesting hand now when I get 10 and off in the small blind against an older gentleman. I know he's pretty tight, so I raise it up to 25, but it still calls. I flop an open-ended straight draw on ace-jack 8 with 2 clubs and decide to c-bet 35 to target basically anything that's not an ace here. I know he's gonna have a hard time calling 2 barrels. He's probably gonna fold anything worse than ace-9 here. He calls, turn is a 5 of clubs, bring it in the flush, and it's a perfect card to put a second barrel in. I bet 7-8, but it still calls. Honestly, I'm getting worried, but never mind, the 7 of spade comes right on time to save my day. Well, he probably has a strong ace, 2 pairs, or a flush. When I bet that amount, he can call with his worst hand, so I decide on 150, and I will fold if he raises, because that will only be a strong flush basically. After 20 seconds or so, that's what it does, and despite getting insane odds, I'm just never good here, so I decide to fold. Some fun stuff happening playing a hand or two against my brother that is sitting right beside me, but we need more chips, so I decide to upgrade and get aces on the button. I raise a limp from a pretty active dude to 40 and he decides to call. Flop is good, maybe too much, ace queen 8, and I decide to check back as I saw him overplay a few hands before, like jamming top pair 3 times the size of the pot on the turn to protect against just what he felt was a flush draw. 10 of hearts on the turn, speaking of flush draw, and then he bets 40. I decide to raise to represent something really weird. The river is another 10, giving me a full house just in case I wasn't good. He doesn't have much behind, so I just jam it in there, hoping he will call any ace queen, or of course a 10 if I'm very lucky. After a tank that felt longer than LeBron's career, he finally makes the correct fold, and we move on. Stay tuned guys, I'm gonna release the second part of that episode real soon, where I go back to 510 and play several 5k plus spots. You don't want to miss them out. Alright, on that note, make sure to like and follow, and I'll see you soon. Peace guys.